Hi guys, and welcome back. So today I want to do a quick tutorial on how I retouch my portraits. So let's jump right into Photoshop and take it from there. Okay, we're in Camera Raw, and this is the plugin I use because I shoot RAW and I'm more familiar and more comfortable in using Camera Raw. And I'm going to jump right into the presets menu. I have already created a preset for my portraits because I'm used to a certain style of shooting, and I already know what I want Camera Raw to do for me within this plugin. So as you can see, it's taken down my temperature quite a bit. I do like my more cooler look, and up to my magentas. Done a few basic settings like my exposure, my contrast, my shadows, and so forth. Guys, if you do want me to do a specific tutorial on Camera Raw, please do let me know in the comment section down below. So as for this image, I am happy, and we're going to chuck it into Photoshop. Great. Once in Photoshop, I normally just duplicate my layer, Control J, and my first tool of choice is always the spot healing brush tool. I use this tool for small things like pimples, frown lines, and things like that. Please do take note that pimples are not a permanent thing, so please do remove it. And also, if you're working with a glamour client or older woman, that you do please take it up with them, and obviously do ask what they're comfortable with regards to things like retouching and so forth, because I know that a lot of clients, especially my women or glamour clients, they do not prefer any manipulations to be done to their bodies or faces within Photoshop. Yes, at the end of the day, it's important that we do use good lighting as well as great posing techniques to get the best portrait possible. But we can't avoid the fact that some retouching needs to be done, especially if you're shooting raw images. So that's pretty much what I use this spot healing brush for. At the top, there's no funny settings involved there. I always just make sure it's on content aware and sample all layers. I'm going to flatten this image, and I'm going to go to my next tool, my my clone stamp tool. And at the top, once again, please do make sure it's on lighten mode. Very important, because we don't want to touch any texture around the skin, around the eyes. And this is where this lighten mode comes in. It literally just lightens all these shadows that you see falling here, and lightens the shadows that also falls around the eyes and so forth. I never touch opacity, and I work on a flow between 4 to 8%. There we go. Alt click and just sample a layer. Just like I said, very quick process, just to lighten those shadows up a bit, because you don't really want to mess with the texture, but also you want to make these shadows a little bit softer on the face. I think I went in too much there. I'll just go back, Control Z, and Alt click again. And let's just see a before and after. Already huge change that you can see there. And I see some lines I just want to make soft at the forehead as well. And I'm pretty much happy with that. Okay. Before and after again. Not bad. So do keep in mind, please keep the mode on lighten. And you should be able to get the same results. And next step, I go into my dodge and burn, and I open up a new layer, Control Shift N, new layer, and the mode is soft light and full with 50% gray. And move into my burn tool. Once again, my range at the top is midtones with an exposure of 35. You can work with exposure of anything between 21 to 30, depending on obviously your preference. Now with the dodge and burn tool, it's pretty much like what makeup artists are doing nowadays. Just contouring the face, adding in the highlights, adjusting the highlights, burning in some more Like for example, I'm working here at the top, my roots are growing out. So, you know, darkening things like hair, framing the face a little bit, touching on hair highlights with your dodge tool and so forth. Also, a tool to use if you want to bring out more makeup or accentuate that. And yes, of course, we need to start off with a very sharp image, but I just find, you know, going in and burning to almost add that little bit of a contrasty look, you know, touching on your blacks and so forth. So as you can see, it is already making a huge change here, before and after. There you can already see a change. Again, just touching on the dodge tool, range midtones, and exposure 31%. Now here we're just going to touch on the highlights. Now I was obviously shooting this in natural light, so you can see here the light's falling on my face on the left side of my face, just making that highlight a little bit softer. I don't have to do any highlight here, but let's just touch on it softly, and getting the bridge of my nose in cleaner, and adding a bit of highlight here on the forehead. And we'll go down a bit, again just touching on underneath the eyes, as well as the shadow back here. And I'm doing this very roughly. You can obviously, you know, spend some time on this, because it really just defines the face so beautifully, and especially, like I said, for contouring and so forth. But I love this tool, the dodge and burn. There are obviously different ways you can dodge and burn. I just find this to be the easiest. Now you'll see that I am dodging down below, because I've obviously have a BB cream on. So and also the light was perhaps not sufficient. So just to blend in better with my skin at the top, and look at that before and after. Already a huge change there that we can see. Okay, closing the background layer just to show you what a dodge and burn layer looks like. Mine's obviously not the most beautiful, but just to give you an idea. And like I said, you can obviously take your time and tweak this as much as you like, keeping in mind not to overdo this process. Now, I am not a fan of using face or skin softening plugins for Photoshop. Like you'll hear me say a lot, you know, don't mess with this texture of the skin. If you're obviously an expert and you have studied beauty retouching, please, by all means, you can use it if you know how to use it. I know there's so many techniques and plugins out there, but I prefer to use Control J, another layer. I prefer to use this technique. You go in by filter gallery. Okay, perfect. Please do make sure that your swatches on the bottom left is on default. Mine isn't, but at least my white's at the bottom. Now, if it should be the case that, you know, your white's on top, you're going to have a black overlay. So always, you know, you're probably going to get into a filter gallery and wonder what the hell's going on. So do take note of that. And on your right hand side, in the default settings, don't worry about any of those settings. Just click OK. And once we're back into Photoshop or the main page, bring the opacity all the way down, and then you can add in as needed. Now that for me is more than enough. As you can see, a before and after, it has just touched on my highlights, making it a little bit lighter and adding that sparkly effect. So I'm happy with that. I don't see any reason why I should add more. Flatten that layer. Now with regards to color grading, which is normally my last step in any retouching, there's so many options out there. Use saturation, you can use your curves, you can use your levels, your color balance. There's really a tremendous amount of selections and options. My quickest option is just running over to gradient map, and I like the copper for skin retouching. Now I change my my mode or layer mode to soft light, and obviously bringing down your opacity again and adding in as needed. This just gives me a very beautiful glowy kind of look. And with a black brush, also going over that layer mask, because you don't want this color to be spilled over to your highlights, especially on the eyes. And a quick before and after, you can see it has really just, you know, given that little bit of pinkish tint or tone, and this is where a cooler image just works for me, because now it's already, you know, warming this up a little bit without messing up the highlight, without messing up my white tones. And just to add a little bit of contrast, I'm not going to do a S-curve now. Let's run to levels. That's quick and easy option, and that's perfect. I don't need anything extra there, and we're good to go. Flatten your image and save it. There we go. So this is pretty much all I do with a portrait in Photoshop. And, you know, like I said, this is all you need to do. There's not much more. Yes, you obviously get options where you have your more advanced techniques within Photoshop, but when it gets to simple and basic portrait tutorials, this just makes a lot of sense for me, especially if you're working with portraits of 15 to 30, on a glamour client. This is perfect. The easiest tutorial that I can show you guys that I use that works for me. So guys, if you want to see more videos like these, please do remember to subscribe, and also let me know what else you guys do want to see in the comment section down below. And I'll see you guys again soon with another great video on photography. Bye bye.